So exercise 16 should be published at this point, so you should be able to see it in Canvas. This is our final assignment, and we are going to be creating presentation boards of our tiny house. And we are going to use a program called Layout, which is separate from SketchUp, but it gets downloaded at the same time. So you might have noticed on your desktop, you have the SketchUp application, there's a layout application, and there's also a styles builder. Those come as kind of a package deal. So while layout is a separate software from SketchUp, it is kind of inherently there when you download SketchUp. And so, oh, well that's annoying. I'm going to try and refresh. Oh. Let me go see if I published the whole module. I did not. Alright, check it out now. Perfect, thank you. So, SketchUp we know is for 3D modeling. Layout is kind of the counterpart that will allow you to create two-dimensional drawings and actual documentation of your model. You can create full-blown construction documents in SketchUp using Layout. So it's a really handy tool that we're going to use. We're not creating construction documents, but we are going to create presentation boards of our tiny house. And so the way that Layout does that is it takes live views from your SketchUp model, and it kind of displays them in these viewports where we can annotate them, add text, tags, dimensions, all that kind of stuff. So to get started, we are going to be in the SketchUp application with your tiny house here. And to get our tiny house into Layout is very simple. You just need to go to File up in the top left corner, and then there should be an option that says Send to Layout. You just click on that, and the Layout application will start up. And then just like SketchUp, where we have options to use different templates whenever it opens, you have the same kind of start screen here where you need to choose a template. They have options for some graph paper, just plain paper, these little storyboards here, and then this last one is title block, and this is the one that I want us to all open. So navigate over to this title block section, and then just so that we're all using the same title block, let's scroll down to the modern title block and use the tabloid landscape. Tabloid is an 11 by 17 sheet of paper. So just click on that one, and then in pops a sheet of paper, and it has automatically put your SketchUp model on the piece of paper. And then we're also seeing the title block that we just asked Layout to use. So let's first talk a little bit about what you're seeing here in Layout. Some of it is pretty similar to SketchUp. You know, you've got your default tray over here on the right side. You just have some different panel options. And then up here at the top, you've got some drawing tools that we can use. There's some annotation tools like adding a text box, adding a label, dimensioning. You've got an eraser, eyedropper tool. So it's a lot less, you have a lot less tools in Layout than you do in SketchUp, but the interface is looking pretty similar so far. So in your assignment, I have asked you to fill out the title block that we have here. So you can see it has options that we can fill in. And so I wrote in your assignment for project title here. You can just double click that and it will ask you what you would like to write. And I am going to put Tiny House as the project name. And then up here where it says company name, double click, and instead of company, we will write Intro to SketchUp, which is our class. In the address line, I want you to write your name. And then in the current date section, it'll automatically populate the current date for you, but I want us to go ahead and put in the date that your assignment is due, which is December 15th, 2023. And then you can just click out of that, and now your title block should be filled out with the appropriate information. You might also see that you can use these little scroll bars across the bottom to move left and right, and you've also got one to move up and down a bit. And so let's talk now about this viewport that has popped into our layout page. So this automatically came up whenever we said for our SketchUp model to send to layout. So it automatically populated this viewport for me. And what we want to do now is in your default tray over here, you should have your default tray hopefully automatically popping up, but just like in SketchUp, if you're not seeing this, you come to your top ribbon, the Window tab, and if it's not visible, this will say Show Tray here. Mine says Hide Tray because my tray is already visible, but that's how you turn that on and off. So in your default tray here, we've got some different options. Some of this has to do with the two-dimensional drawing that we can do. There's one for your SketchUp model that's telling you some information about the model that you have imported in layout. So this is the name of my SketchUp model that I have here. Since I've clicked on this viewport, it's telling me which scene is assigned to this viewport, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. You have some options for text styles, some dimension styles, and then there's also a pages panel here that's showing you the pages that are in your layout project. And so you can see that I have two pages right now. One of them is a cover page that just gets automatically populated, and then page number 2 is our inside page, which is where I'm actually adding the viewports to right now. I think those would be the main ones that we're going to touch on. So I do want to preface that we're not really taking a deep dive into layout here today. Just kind of enough to dip your toes into layout and understand how to arrange views on a sheet. So let's see here. Let's talk about what's in our viewport. So something that was very important that we did in our SketchUp model that will be helpful for us as we're now here in layout is the creation of those scenes. We created scenes for our different elevations, sections, floor plans, all that good stuff. And it's really going to be helpful here in layout because you can assign a scene to your different viewports. And that'll make it much easier because if you keep that scene as just like a locked view, then it won't change around on you in layout. Something that people see often is if they are not assigning scenes to their viewports, SketchUp will start to default to a last saved SketchUp view, and that might start to look different than your scenes that you want. So if I'm trying to put an elevation on my sheet, but I don't have my viewport assigned to my elevation scene, then layout is just going to say that this view is going to be that last saved SketchUp view every time. So each time you open it, it might look something different. So you want to make sure that you have your particular scene assigned to your viewport. And we'll take a look at a little bit more about that in SketchUp as well, and how we can start to manipulate that a little bit more. So in this viewport, I just click once and it brings up this boundary box here where I can start to kind of toggle these and crop my view a little bit more. And whenever I do that, if I just click and start dragging this inward and then release, you can start to kind of change this to make room for others. It's a little bit temperamental sometimes. There you go. You can see how whenever I did that, it might start to change the scale of your viewport. It's getting smaller as I change the size of the viewport. So what we want to do is assign a scale to each viewport. And we can do that over here in your default tray with the SketchUp model panel. We can tell this viewport to set to a certain scale. So right now it's just giving me some random scale. I can hit this drop down and it gives me lots of different options for scale. Let's say I want a 1/4 inch. So now that should have, why didn't it change? There we go. Change to a 1/4 inch, and then if I check mark this preserve scale, now I should be able to change my viewport boundary without the scale of this changing. So if you're noticing that your SketchUp model is getting smaller inside of your viewport, just make sure that you have this preserve scale button checked. I can move my viewport. If I just hover over this right now, and then I can click and drag and start to move it around. So you can start to arrange your views on your sheet however you'd like. And then to create a new viewport, because we're going to want to put multiple views on our sheets, you, just like in SketchUp, how we use the control key to copy, just press and hold your control key, and then click and drag, and it'll give you a new viewport, and then from there you can assign a new scene to it. With me so far? Okay. As part of your assignment, you'll be asked to add a few different scenes to your layout project with, and you're going to need at least 2 pages to create those scenes. Adding a new page is super easy. You can either come up here to the top. These are kind of your pages tools. There's one here that you can just click add, and it'll give you that 3rd page. And then you can navigate back and forth here by going to the previous page or to the next page. And you can also do this in your pages panel here. You can hit the plus sign to add a new page, or you can also delete a page. If you are highlighted on that page here, you can delete that selected page and it'll go away. And you can also navigate between pages just by clicking on them here in your pages panel. And then let's see here. So in your assignment, you're asked to include at least 2 of your elevations, 1 section, 1 floor plan, and 2 perspectives. And at least one of those perspectives should be an interior. So one of them can be exterior if you'd like, but at least one of them should be interior. And then with that, you'll be asked to explore some different styles. And so what that means is, if I go back to this page, you can see that right now, actually, these 2 viewports are different styles. This one has this gray background, and everything is kind of a black and white shade. Whereas this one, I have a white background, and I can start to see some of the shades of the textures that I've used in my model. So to do that, and you'll find this helpful if, say you were creating construction documents, you probably aren't going to want fully rendered floor plans with showing all the different textures and colors and things that you're using. You're probably going to want to use something that's more just black and white, straightforward. But then for your perspectives, you are going to want to see those textures and colors and all that good stuff. So we can start to use styles to differentiate the two. And so to use styles, we need to go back to SketchUp. And this is going to be one important thing with layout. Layout has some options for using different styles. We've got our drawing tools, all that good stuff. But for the most part, you're going to want to try and do all of your designing, all of your modeling in the actual SketchUp application, just so that it stays consistent between all of them. And also, let's say if I came in here and, oh, I didn't tell you guys that. You can, just like if you're familiar with AutoCAD, you can double click into your viewport, and now you're kind of like in a more of like a model space. So this can be, I mean, you can do live things in here, but it's just best practice to do all that stuff in SketchUp. So let's say if I did come in here and I started to draw things, it's just not going to be as user-friendly as it would be in SketchUp. And if you, what have I done now? And see, now the circle has disappeared once I started to come back in here. So it's just going to be a lot easier if you try and do everything in your actual SketchUp model rather than trying to do things in layout. You want to try and keep it all in one place. So, sorry, that was a little bit of a tangent. So back to styles. Let's go back to SketchUp here. And let's say I want to play with my front elevation. So right now, this is what we are seeing in layout. Layout has brought this exact scene into our viewport. But let's say I wanted to play with different styles. So you should, in your default tray, have a styles panel. And the interface for styles can look kind of similar to the materials. A lot of the buttons are kind of similar. We have this drop down that kind of categorizes the different styles that you might want to use. We can edit them. You know, it's a lot of the same interface. So let's just go look at our default styles here. So typically, I believe that simple style is what SketchUp defaults to, where you have kind of the blue sky in the background and the gray ground plane. So, but like I talked about, you might not want that for just your traditional two-dimensional drawing. You might want something that's more black and white. I can just start to play around and look at these different styles, and I don't know why that keeps on cutting, but just look at the different styles that you'll see here. They'll change background colors. They'll change whether or not you're seeing your materials and textures. So you can just start to look around at the different ones that are offered in SketchUp. Even a wireframe one if you need to see through something. An X-ray that kind of gives a ghosted view. So let's say for this one, I just want more of that traditional black and white. So I'm going to find a style that was most similar. Maybe this hidden line one is going to be the best for me. But there might still be some things in here that I'm not quite happy with. I want to change a few things. So I can go over to this edit button, and I can just start to either edit this one here, or I can create a new style so that it basically duplicates that original style, and then I can give it a new name. So maybe I want this to be construction documents. Okay. And then I've got several options that I can start to go through here. This first option here is related to your edge settings. So you can choose whether or not edges are displayed. You can choose if you'd like to see the hidden lines beyond. And then you can start to add these different options here, like this extension one here kind of makes everything a little bit more sketchy. Endpoints really accentuates the endpoints of your geometry. And then you'll also see whenever you check marked these options, there is a number. And this is just asking you to assign a line weight to your edges. So I can bump this up to 5. And now my line weight's got a lot thicker. Bring it back down to 1. Everything's back to being thin. This next option is for your face settings. So you can choose a color of the front face and a color of the back face. So right now everything is set to the front color, which is white. This is when we talked about how every surface has a front face and a back face. So right now I have the front face towards everything. I can change that. Let's say I want everything on the front face to be more of this red color. Well, that didn't really do anything for me. Change it back to white here. You can toggle on and off material transparency. So this one's a little bit harder to see. Let me zoom in here. Right now my glass is kind of transparent, so I can uncheck this if I don't want to be able to see through my glass. The next one, background settings, so you can change the color of the background. I've got a pink background for everything. Or you can choose an option if you want the sky color to be visible, if you want the ground plane color to be visible. Next one is watermark settings. We don't really need to go too much into that one right now because we're not dealing with watermarks. And then you've got a few extra model settings here at the end. So you can choose some of these section ones. If you had your section planes, it tells you this orange color is correlating to an active section. So if I didn't have that, now that turns gray because it's an inactive section. I can change that color if I wanted to. My inactive sections can now be this pink color, or sorry, purple color. So you've got some options here that you can kind of play around with. You can change, again, a line weight for your section cuts to try and make those nice and thick. And then you also have some options here for what you'd like to show. So right now, section cuts are turned off, but if I did turn the section cuts on, then I would start to see the different sections that I have displayed in my model. I can turn off the section planes so that that's no longer showing. If you'd like to turn on hidden objects, hidden geometry. So you can start to control all of these things within your styles and just kind of play around with things to start to make your view look the way that you would like it to. And then once you find the style that you want, it is important that you update your scene so that SketchUp remembers this style for your scene. So to update the scene, you can do it one of two ways. You can either come to your scenes panel over here in your default tray and hit the update button, the update scene. You might get this warning that you're creating or updating a scene and have not saved the changes you've made to your style yet. So you can either choose to save that as a new style or update the selected style. I'm going to update the selected style because I was trying to make my own custom style here. And then just hit update scene. Or you could have also, up to your tabs up here where your scenes live, you can just right click and hit update here and it'll update the same way. So if I go back to layout, it's not showing me the updates that I just made. We need to save our SketchUp model before layout will be able to read the changes. So I just need to go to File and Save. And then once I go back to layout, again over here in my SketchUp model, I am just going to hit this little refresh button next to the name of my model. And then hopefully, there it goes. It knows that I've updated the scene. And now I'm seeing what I just did in SketchUp, now in layout. Questions so far? Okay. One more thing that you'll be asked to do in your assignment is to add titles to your viewports and start to annotate some of your scenes. And so one of those, like I think I asked you to just do some overall dimensions on your floor plan. So let me actually figure out why this is messed up here. Let me go back to SketchUp, go to my floor plan view. That is how I want it. There we go. If your scene is not acting quite right, maybe you accidentally started making some edits, all I did there to get it back was a little button here popped up. Here, let me see if I can Control Z and undo some stuff. If I select this viewport that's not acting right, I can just hit reset, and that'll bring me back to my SketchUp scene. What I had done was double clicked in here and started moving around and doing some stuff here, but I can get it back by just hitting that reset button. Get rid of that too. Okay, so we can start to add some annotations. I'd say probably try not to double click into your views as much as you can, because that's just going to start to cause you problems and mess up your views. For annotations, dimensions, you don't need to be double clicked into your views. You can just stay kind of on your paper space. So we'll start to look at these tools that are up here, our drawing tools, our dimensioning tools. So let's start with the dimensions. If you just click on this dimension button up here, you'll start to see a pencil tool. And you can just start clicking on, SketchUp or Layout will still recognize the different points that you have, midpoints, endpoints. It'll still snap to those things. So you can just click on your different endpoints and then start to bring it out to see those overall dimensions. Click on each endpoint and bring them up. It's pretty simple to just add these dimensions. You don't have to go all out with these different dimensions, but just kind of showing you. It's pretty easy to add dimensions here. You can add text. So let's say you wanted to add maybe some room tags. You can literally just start writing on your SketchUp model. This label tool can be kind of interesting. So you'll use it to start to label different maybe components and groups that you have. Let's say that you're doing a furniture plan and you need to tag all of your pieces of furniture. Something cool that Layout can do here is if I maybe just start to tag this guy, so I just clicked once and started pulling it out. You'll click twice to finish it. It gives you a couple options. You can either just do the area of the face. You can, choose these different labels that are available to you here. It can tell you the dimensions of it. Let's look at something. If I had, well, I can probably use my door here. If I use the label tool on the door and see what options it gives me, it knows that my door is a component back in SketchUp, and it should display the name for you of the component right here. So if I go double check that in SketchUp, click on my door here, it is a component and its name is 3x7 door. So that can be helpful for you. This was kind of what I was getting at if you're doing a furniture plan and your furniture is a component that you have given a specific name. You can just come into Layout and you can choose to label it as the name that you've given it. So 3x7 door in this case. Does that make sense? Okay. So those are a few of the annotation tools that you can use there. I'm also asking you to create just some titles for your views, and so we'll use the drawing tools for that. You have a couple of kind of your simple drawing tools here. So I might choose the circle. Let's say I'm going to use or create a viewport here for my elevation. Just start to draw a circle here, kind of the traditional viewport title that you'll see often. And then you can start to add your text in it. So say that this is view number 1. It's called front elevation. And the scale is 1/4 inch equals 1 foot. And then you can start to play with the different text styles here. So if I select one of the text boxes I made and go over to this text style panel, I can start to play with it here a little bit. Maybe use this nice bold one. And you can choose whatever you'd like. You can make it bold, oblique, you can change the size of it, and you also have options to underline, strike through, you can change the color of the text, you can center it in your text box. So you've got quite a few different options here, and then I'm just going to move it and it should snap to the center point of my circle here. And then same thing for these other ones. I can assign it a different text style. Start to rearrange it where I want it. Might do the same style here to this one. Maybe make it a little bit smaller. And it's pretty simple to create some different titles and drawing elements. And then just like in SketchUp, you can click and drag for a selection box to grab all of this. And then I'll hit my Control key and then drag it over here. And now I've got the view title for this next one, and then you can, come in here and change this one to floor plan and number 2, so on and so forth. Sound good? Okay. Some things that I put in here just to remember. If you make changes to your SketchUp model, you must save the SketchUp model in order for those changes to show in layout, and then you need to update your model in layout. If you make a bunch of changes in SketchUp and then don't save it, layout's not going to know what you just did. And then just like we talked about, most options for customizing your view, like turning on and off different tags, your different layers, choosing what sections are active, your styles, all of that should be controlled through SketchUp rather than layout. And then we also talked about, although there are drawing tools in layout, your drawing elements that are not your annotations, like we just made this view title, but your drawing elements should mainly be used in or drawn in SketchUp. So for your actual assignment, you'll add scenes to layout with at least 2 pages. Your viewports should include at least 2 of your elevations, 1 section, 1 floor plan, and 2 perspectives. Each viewport should have a title, like we just created. Your floor plan should have overall dimensions, and what I mean by that is just, the length and width of the overall building is fine. I just want to see that you understand how to use the dimensions. You can add dimensions and annotations to other viewports if you need to better communicate your space, like maybe for your elevation, if you'd like to add another dimension for the overall height of your building. Just play around with the different options that you have. I really just want to see that you understand the tools that are available to you. And then feel free to add more viewports with more scenes. If you want to put all 4 of your elevations on here, go for it. If you have a floor plan of the loft level of your tiny house, go ahead, throw that on there. And then try to use at least 2 different styles in your presentation board. So how we showed, we changed our elevation to more of that black and white construction document style, and then maybe you'll have your floor plan as more of like a rendered style. Just play with the different options that you have. I want to see that you understand how to at least get different scenes to have different styles. And then I do have an example in Canvas. Let me switch over to Canvas here. I have an example board from the last class. So they've added an interior perspective of their space in the beginning, and then they've got some more of their views. They had a material sample palette. That's definitely something that you could add to yours. So you can just use this one as kind of a reference if you're not sure what yours should really look like. That one is there available to you. And then I want you to upload both your SketchUp model and your layout as into this assignment. So I want it to be a PDF from layout. I don't want you to send me the actual layout file. So whenever you're ready to finish up and print off, you can hit File, Export, PDF, and then you can just save it to your computer and upload. Any questions? Yeah.
How do you add, so I know how to add a new page, but how do you add a view? Like,
To like the other page?
yeah, so I'm on like page 3, and I don't know how to add, like, how do I?
You
So I just
can.
use control.
Yep, you can just use Control.
Okay.
Yeah. So the weird thing about layout is there is no Add Viewport button. So I can't just open a new layout file and add a new viewport. You have to actually export your model to layout in order to get that viewport, and then just copy and paste viewports around. It's very strange. But yeah, you can just Control C for copy, go to your next page, Control V for paste, and then from there you can do the same thing, assign a different scene, so on and so forth. Thank you. Other questions? Okay. Well, I'll be here